was having some issues down here. Right now I'm pressing copper. I have need to press copper sheets. I was pressing my copper in between these two pieces of metal. I actually needed to put all my weight onto this, and when I did that, after a few times of doing it, the jack just gave out. It's like, well, it's not working anymore. I can pump it, it will go up to a certain amount of pressure, but that's it. And as I was pumping it, I could feel it, like there was a moment where it would get pressure and would just lose it. So first thing I did was I stopped, went upstairs, turned the YouTube on, and looked to see what other people had come up with, and I didn't find anything that dealt with this. I found a lot of videos about priming the jack, about purging the air out of the jack. You know, basically people saying, well, if it doesn't work, it's because there's air in it. Well, I looked at the O-ring. There's an O-ring on this ram, just a little dowel, little rod about probably 3/8 diameter, with a cut in it that allows you to put an O-ring, a rubber O-ring on it. So, okay, I did that. Put the O-ring in. Well, I got a newer O-ring, thinking, well, maybe I'm sucking air into it. Someone else on a YouTube video had said, well, maybe I'm just sucking air into my jack because this O-ring is weak. And I thought, well, that's worth a try. So I found an O-ring that fit, put it in, didn't do a damn thing. It just made it hard to pump. It's actually not a bad thing to have in there, to replace that O-ring, but it didn't fix it. Something is not holding like it should, because I can pump up a certain amount of pressure. Like maybe I couldn't give you a number on it, but I can pump a certain amount of pressure up and it will maintain that pressure, but it won't pump any more pressure, and I can just pump all damn day and I don't get anywhere. It's not doing anything. So to get you up to speed of where I'm at, is I set a couple blocks up in a kind of a V pattern around this catch pan, set my jack sideways on it, and took my pliers and pulled that plug out. Caught all this oil right here, didn't even spill a drop. I did spill some yesterday there. So step one, get the oil out of the jack. I have plenty of oil, and by the way, that was the first thing that I looked for, was, well, maybe my jack is just out of oil. There's a process of elimination, right? Was the jack full of oil? Yeah. Was the jack purged? Yes, I was able to purge it, I believe. Did it fix the problem? No, it didn't. Okay, so step one, get rid of the oil. The oil's over there in a container, safe, out of the way. Step two, find a place to put your parts. I mean, that's what I have to do, or I will lose them around here. Step three, figure out how to take this jack apart. Instead of being able to wrench this thing apart, let me show you what I did. If I can find the spot. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm just using this, I just got it in here at an angle where I could actually hit and move this thing. You know, you have to turn it at the right angle so that it doesn't just, when you strike it, it doesn't just bounce off. You have to actually, it has to dig in. And once it digs in, it makes a little hole. So anyway, I used this and I just hammered this open. So if you're doing this, you're going to have to figure out a way to clamp your jack so that it doesn't twist on you, you know. And so this actually worked well because you can see it's locked in here pretty good. And it took maybe a quarter of a turn hammering it to loosen it up to where I could just take it off hand tight. At that point, I realized that I need to grab the camera and film this, because maybe I can show you what in the heck happened to my jack, and maybe it could happen, you know, maybe it could help you. Let me do some basic stuff. Oh, look at that. Okay. Nice. And this is the okay, this O-ring has a sharp side. It's triangular shaped, right? The profile is triangular shaped. The base of it sets down into that slot. And it's just a machine slot in here, like full of oil. Yeah, there's an O-ring here also. So, okay. So if that O-ring was bad, maybe there are 3 O-rings here. So this piece goes on like this, tightens down. So if I have O-ring leaks, there's a good chance I'll get a leak up here. I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong about that, that this O-ring isn't nearly as tight fitting, it's more like a wiper than the O-rings that are in this cylinder. And probably my resistance is an O-ring. That has been compressed. It's now there could be a bit of a okay. So here's the bottom of this. Now you can, looks like that O-ring is kind of twisted. I really don't want to take this out though. I'll probably need to press to put it back in. Again, I don't think this is the issue. If this gasket is bad, that will certainly be my issue, and I could probably just get an O-ring. That would be my attempt, if that's what's going on. But you can see there's a check valve right there. There's a port here, and a port here, and a port here. Here's the bypass valve. That's the piece that you tighten up and loosen to make the jack work. This pushes against a ball, and this little rubber seal fits down in that channel. And then the ball is right there, so that pushes that ball in. Can you see that? Look at all the, can you see that? Maybe you can see that. I'm probably getting you too close. But right here, it's just really chewed up. It looked like it probably got caught in the threads. That just looks really suspicious to me. You can see that valve, that little ball is jumping up and down. Okay, if this were back feeding, right? Unless there's a channel that goes from here to here, and I don't know if there's or not. If that valve was messed up, it seems to me like it would pressurize this all the way up. I wouldn't be able to push it down anymore, or you know, I'd lose the ability to pump it. It would be fighting me, because unless it's running, just backing through here and everywhere, it seems like it would probably create a mess here. If nothing else, it seems like when I let go of the handle, if that valve was messed up, it would cause this to rise. Looks to me like this valve probably controls these two ports here. They're kind of in line. You know, that does make sense that way. Well, the port looks pretty good, but it's just a mating surface for that ball. I want you to notice something. Look where I've got the light shining. You can see there's a weld there, and you might notice that the weld's directly underneath our lot. I mean, pretty much underneath this area here. So it makes me wonder why. I would assume that probably what they're doing, drilling the port from over here all the way through here, and there's another check valve in the bottom of this. It looks to me like there might be oil blowing up underneath it and coming back up through there. That would cause the problem. If the oil did come up under there, and it would just come back out through these threads, I can never get the weight I need to get on it. So So we may have found the issue, but while it's at this point, let's continue tearing it apart. Okay, I'm just going to pull this pin, whoops, can you see it? That pin, which holds this bigger pin onto this pump. Now, if you look at this piece, it looks like it's a pipe with a cap on top of it, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's a cap, but initially I thought it was a cap because there's a little rubber seal here that obviously keeps the wipe, it's a wiper, I guess. And then if you look in here, you can see the O-ring. Let me push this out. Okay, that way you can see what we've got. So my O-ring has got some damage to it. However, I don't think that it's actually creating an issue. This is where we at? Here we go. Let me back this up. Okay, so this is the original O-ring right here. Let me try to get it more viewable. Let me put it against this white background. So you can see there's the original O-ring, and then there's the replacement O-ring. You can see that, maybe you can't see it, but I'm trying to show you, this is a lot fatter than that, but I think that they'll both work, and the original one might work just fine put back in. It's just that I didn't know, and it was for 2 O-rings it cost me like 37 cents or something. Just so you know what that is, that's basically just a shaft. I'm just going to leave it in there. Here we go. It's just a little copper, it looks very copperish, a copper washer. Let me show you what's going on here. This is the check valve, the ball, which of course is out of focus. There we go. So this is a ball that's underneath the pump. So there we go. The top port is the inlet. That's where the ball sets. So when you pump up and you're applying vacuum, or you're creating a vacuum, that ball will lift up, right? It lifts up, fills the cylinder up. As that port's connected to this valve right here. So there's our valve assembly. Pull it up, this ball comes up, allowing fluid to fill the pump. And when you push down, that ball is pushed down against that seat, where I found some junk, by the way, pushed down against that seat, so that the only way that oil can escape is through the bottom port, and it comes in here and it pushes this ball up and fills up the chamber. So when I stop pumping, that ball gets pressurized back down into that port. Let's just do it that way. Yeah, look at that. I don't want to break anything, but I do need to take that ball out of there. Right, this is a reservoir. Raised up a little bit, probably so any debris, so it's not sucking up debris. That's a good design. So to complete the circuit, so we pull up on the pump, the reservoir's full, it comes in through here, and it sucks up into here, stop at the top, and we start to go down. Now that ball closes, it seats up against the seat in here, and the oil can only go through this lower port. So it goes through this lower port, pushes this ball up, comes in to the pressurized area underneath the lifting cylinder, right? Right. That's assuming that this port is closed, this valve is closed, and that ball bearing is closed, which does not allow the oil to go from this port back into this port. Because what happens here is that when you open this valve, right, this is the main valve that you run the jack with. When you open it, it allows oil that's inside your pressurized area to flow down through that hole and then come back up through this hole. And you can see that those ports are, you know, those holes are aligned, and we already did the check. We know that they're all connected. So that's the whole assembly. Pretty damn simple. Here's my lifter. Check that out. Is that cool? Yeah, I don't want to lose that ball bearing, but so it's a double-headed nail, kind of bent, with a super magnet on top of it. So that allowed me to get that ball out of that hole. Applying engineering principles to this, or common sense or something. I don't know, we're going to apply something to it. More than likely, well, this has been my experience, and this goes for electronics too. If you see something that looks funny, it's probably it. If you have an issue and you see something weird, like a circuit board has a black spot on it, look at it. It's probably the issue. So I'm thinking that what I have seen that looks really suspicious is this O-ring. This thing looks really suspicious, especially right there. Maybe you can see that where it's been messed with. Now maybe that was just threads scrunching it and moved around, but it looks messed up. So I'm of the belief that this is my #1 suspect. So I'm going to start up my air compressor. I'm going to blow the oil. I'm going to blow these ports out with some high pressure air. I don't think there'll be an issue. If there is, I'll show you the aftermath. And then I'll clean everything up. I will potentially look for an O-ring for that spot. That's a big O-ring. I may just use silicone, but I'm not sure about that. But let's just look at this. Okay. Now look how that looks. Isn't that weird? See the wrinkle in there? So you can see that the O-ring was made to fit in this open area here. So I think that, you know, that taper squishes the O-ring into the corner. I believe that if I did get a new O-ring, I'd be okay. If I can't get a new O-ring, like I said, I'll just use silicone, and yeah. All right, I made it back. I couldn't find an O-ring. This is wax and grease remover. I'm getting ready to clean all the areas. Oh. To watch these castings. There's some sharp edges here. So I've replaced the ball back into its chamber and put the little plastic, just turn that back around, and I've replaced the ball with that one. Okay, so there we go. There we go, that's it. So it's just a copper gasket that this pump will seat against. So I really don't need any sort of thread locking on here. Put that in here. Put that in there. Put that in here. Okay. Great. And it will now tighten. If I can find my, there we go. Okay, so that tightens against that copper gasket. That is, excuse me. And my clip are next. Can you see that? They're a little bit dirty, a little bit greasy. Yeah, oily, probably. There we go. Q-pin. So that's all put back together. Top this up. So here's the big ball bearing, the rubber seal, and then the pin, or the valve, or whatever you want to call that. So you can see that it's a compression fit. Notice it's kind of bent in there a little bit. So I will need something to tap it down in there. Push a nut on a piece of quarter-inch all thread. Okay. And yeah. So this is the part that I believe was the issue. It's really beat to hell. If you can see that or not, I don't know, but it's really a piece of junk. So what I've got somewhere around here, I thought I brought it down here. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, that looks good. Wow. So that just sits, as you can see, maybe. Yeah. That just goes back in, big side down. Alrighty. I just got done pumping this jack up. holding pretty damn good, which leads me to believe that okay. So that's pretty good. I believe that we fixed the problem, and that the problem was that gasket in the bottom, which did require disassembling the whole thing. So anyway, I hope that this video can help you. I'm sure there are a lot of these jacks out there, and I sure couldn't find anything about what was going on. And there was nothing that helped other than having to do it myself. So maybe I can help you. Anyway, if you like it, like and subscribe.